I've never owned a sports card shop. I probably never will own a sports card shop, but I find it extremely fun to reflect on the possibility of owning a sports card shop. So I'm definitely no expert in this, but I think this is a fun thing to explore. So in this video, I'm going to share with you what I think is necessary if you want to be a successful sports card shop owner, like a brick and mortar sports card shop owner. Let's get into this. Now, as we get into this, the first thing I should say is I think actually owning a brick and mortar sports card shop is probably one of the most challenging ways to make a go at running a sports card related business, with how much stuff is done online and everything, and how much overhead you have with a brick and mortar shop. But that being said, there's still a lot of good things about it and a lot of fun that could be had about it too, as challenging as it would be. One of the advantages would be, for example, that you have yourself rooted in a place for getting inventory from your local community. You'd probably have, people who are trying to sell their sets of cards, sell their old collections and stuff, are probably more likely to come straight to you before they go anywhere else, if they're looking for somebody to buy their collection. And it also, if you become the center, the root of where a lot of the local card collectors come, like you might have an ongoing flow of people coming in that if you can build that kind of community center atmosphere, then you could be successful. So there's ways to be successful. One of the things I've oftentimes thought, if you wanted to build a successful business, sports card business nowadays, is you'd have to think about not just creating the space as a sports card shop, but almost as a community base, something people want to come to hang out, something people want to come to see other people that are sports card collectors in the community. Maybe if you can have a place where they can order a cup of coffee and sit and hang out and, do stuff on their computer, like a place where people aren't just coming, buying product and leaving, but they want to come, they want to stay, they want to play some video games, they want to, hang out, watch the basketball game, whatever, something like this, where people want to come there for more than just buying a product and going. It becomes a community base. So this is just from an overarching sense, I think this would help a lot. The other thing, just in general, when it comes to building any business, and I have built businesses before, the first thing that you really want to do is in-depth planning before you take any kind of step, with a lot of different areas. You have to look at the legal side of things, consulting a lawyer. You have to look at the financial side of things and even the legal sides of the financial things, consulting an accountant, really understanding what that is going to entail. What's the tax situation going to be about? What's the actual financial costs going to be for overhead, and have a very clear plan for how much inventory you have to sell, how much money you have to make in order to just cover base costs. That requires a lot of initial planning. Things like insurance, you really have to understand what's the insurance situation, what's the business insurance. If you've got a lot of inventory and you have stuff coming and going regularly, how do you make sure that your insurance is covering everything? If you get something brand new and then it's lost in a fire the next day and it hasn't been updated in your accounts yet, have you lost it? Like, understand the insurance system, I think, is extremely important. You're going to want to register as a business as soon as possible, either an LLC or an S corp. From what I've researched, there's advantages to each of them, and then you pay yourself through that. This helps with the tax thing. This helps with, if your business fails, it doesn't put you in the bankruptcy. It might put your business in the bankruptcy, but you and your business are separate, so that makes it safer for yourself. So these are, or if there's some kind of insurance thing, or being sued, the business is being sued for some reason, it separates you and the business, takes away a lot of the risk. So that kind of thing is important, not just in sports card business, but within any kind of business. I've even heard people recommend that even a business like a YouTube channel, or a business like, selling cards online on eBay, there's some advantages to registering as a business. It's not too complicated to do, it's not too expensive to do, but there are some advantages that make it safer for you. So it's worth looking into, even if you're not doing a brick and mortar shop. Just in general, it's worth looking into, I think. And related to all of that, you're going to want to create a separate business bank account. This is something that you'll want to separate from the personal bank account, so you can understand what's actually coming and going. What are the actual costs? You don't want to eat into your life needs and the price you have to pay for your mortgage, or the price you have to pay for your car insurance, or whatever. You need a wall between the business operations and your own personal finances, because they can't be one and the same. Next is having a clear plan for ongoing sourcing of inventory. Once you have a brick and mortar shop, you can't be going out all the time searching for things at card shows. Maybe you can sometimes, but if your card shop is closed every weekend because you're going to card shows, that's probably also the times that you'd be selling stuff at your brick and mortar shop. So you have to have a clear plan for ongoing supply of inventory. If you have the same cards in there week after week after week, you're going to dry up. Your customers are going to dry up. Why are they going to come back to you again and again if there's nothing new for them to really see? So that's an important one. And the inventory has to be something that is not just stuff that people in your local community can get anywhere. You know, if they can go to the local Walmart and pick up some retail stuff, why are they going to come to your card shop to get the same thing for a higher price? There has to be some incentive for people to be coming there on a regular basis. A brick and mortar card shop isn't going to succeed if you don't have the same people coming back again and again. If people come once or twice and they never return because they're just going to go to Walmart to pick up stuff, you'll fail soon. The next is actually ask this question before you do it. Is there actual local demand, and is that demand not already being met? If you are in a place where there's no sports card shops, maybe there's a demand there and there's space for this. If you're in a space where there's no sports card shops because there's not sports card people, then there's no demand. So you have to really understand the local context. Is there a demand, and is that demand not being met by the supply? You could probably see that from different angles. If you look at if there's card shows, successful card shows that happen in that general region, but there's not a lot of card shops, maybe there's a good chance. If there's not any card shows, I would think that a better bet than starting a brick and mortar shop would be starting a card show and see if there actually is demand in the local place. And if there is, then maybe consider it. I wouldn't just jump into it for the sake of having a brick and mortar shop. You're going to want to think about how to streamline the online and offline operations of your business. Both of those are going to be important even for a brick and mortar shop. You're still going to want to have an online presence, but you got to be careful, because if you have the same supply, the same inventory available in your brick and mortar shop and in your online shop, you're not going to be able to see it every moment if something sells online. If something sells online and then 10 minutes later somebody comes into the shop and buys it, then suddenly you don't have the thing for the online seller or something like this. So you have to have a very clear plan for how to integrate your online and your offline inventory and presence. You want to make, also related to online presence, you want to make full use of it. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all of these different spaces. There's different ways to utilize that, and you'll want to learn over time how to use that to improve the recognition, the brand recognition of your brand, both online and to get people to come to your physical store as well. So it's all connected. Now, as far as the physical space, how it's designed, this is going to be an important part. I mean, people who want to come to your shop are going to want to have something that's well organized so that, they can see the prices, they can see a certain section they want to go to explore through cards. They can get an understanding of everything by just walking in and looking around. They have a good organized shop, as well as, display items that could also be attractive as like memorabilia purchases, signed jerseys, things like this. You want to create a space that reflects the character of the people who are probably going to be coming into, and the interests of the people who are probably going to be coming into the store. So it, again, feels like a welcoming place, a place that people want to come to, even if they don't buy anything, even if they just want to come and look around for a little bit, that they feel welcome to do so, and it feels like an inviting atmosphere. I think that's really important for ongoing, continuing customers. You want to start the business from the very beginning with very clear, organized structures when it comes to how you're going to record your buying and your spending, when it comes to how you're going to record every element of things. You want to be organized and structured from the beginning. It's easy to add things. I might not have experience starting a brick and mortar sports card shop, but I do have experience starting business. And if you start things off with a solid foundation, it's easy to strengthen that foundation and add elements to that foundation over time. It's not easy to redo everything or have to figure everything out from scratch again and again as you get more complex. So you want to have a good organized system of inventory, of your finances, of every element of the business. You want to have it very well structured from the beginning, and you can make it complex and figure out different tools that help you as you go on. You don't need every tool right from the beginning, but you at least need to have a clear beginning point. As far as the inventory you have around, you probably have your favorite stuff, but you have to keep in mind that your favorite stuff is not necessarily everybody's favorite stuff. You have to have something there that's going to attract people who have different interests. Maybe you really love vintage, maybe you really love one specific sport. Have that stuff. Wonderful. You want that stuff. But a lot of the stuff you might not be interested, there will be people who are interested. So you have to have enough to attract a variety of people. You might even want to branch into other things that are related to sports cards. Pokemon cards, Magic the Gathering cards could be part of it as well. Sometimes those kinds of shops have their own separate shops, their own separate kind of community bases in the community. And if there's already some of those strong, maybe you don't need to expand into those areas. I know in my hometown, for example, there's a couple of sports card shops, and then there's more like comic book shops shops, Magic the Gathering and TCG kind of inspired shops. And I don't think people would be coming to my brick and mortar shop when there's already quite a lot of those kind of places for Magic the Gathering and Pokemon and those kind of things. So there'd be no reason for me to branch into that when I looked at the reality of that market. But in other places, there might not be those things. So, if you're starting a sports card shop and you see spaces for also having some comic books or Pokemon or whatever, consider that, as long as there's an actual demand in your local community. And if you don't have any knowledge or interest in that space, I think it's at least worth exploring and seeing what the local reality is. I wouldn't, if I was not, I'm not into Pokemon, but if I was starting a sports card shop in a place where there was no Pokemon shops, I might at least look into seeing, having a few, whatever the equivalent of like a blaster box or a hobby box is, just to have it around for a few people. Just say, hey, everybody's welcome. I want it to be welcoming to everybody. Here's some other stuff. I don't know much about this, but I'll have this available for you if I can figure out a way to source it for a good price. The next is having a clear marketing plan, and this can also connect with your online presence. Sports card shops nowadays are not going to get as much just walk-in traffic as they might have gotten back in the 90s. People have to know you're there. They have to be drawn to go and find you. You could have a central location, but still, you really have to be in a place where people are going to want to seek you out, even if they don't happen to go past you. So a marketing plan is going to be really important for that. And you don't want to just go marketing anywhere. You need to find the community spaces that are going to connect with the type of people who will be interested in a sports card shop. Maybe that's connecting in with a local minor league baseball team if you have one in the city or in a nearby city. Maybe that's connecting in with local sports organizations who do after school sports activities for kids. I don't know. Maybe you can sponsor a sports team's jersey. There's different ways that you can do and connect into kind of a sports community, and I think having a clear plan for that is going to be important. Get your name out there, get your brand out there locally. Online can help you a lot beyond locally, but you also need to think locally. Building a successful business like this also really requires relationship building. You need to be able to network with other sports card businesses in your location. You need to be able to build friendships, not just business friendships, but real relationships with people in the community, so that that you can also see how far your networking can expand based on those relationships. And they have to be authentic. If there's an inauthenticity in there, then it's gonna be hard to nurture that network in a natural way. So you have to build a network. You have to build relationships, and you have to think about how to do that consistently, strategically, and authentically. As part of your marketing strategy, think about different special events. You can have local trade nights. You can have events for kids in the community. You can have certain giveaways, that you can schedule at different times and get the word out about those. You can have, maybe in combination with again, maybe like a local minor league sports team, you can have some kind of special signing day that you can organize in connection with them. There's different things you can do, but think about special events, because there could be periods of time where if you can get intensive interest for a short period of time, that might take care of some of your marketing needs for quite a while. And once there's enough people who know about it, then the word of mouth spreading of marketing, natural marketing, there's probably a word for that, but just word of mouth spreading is going to become much more likely. You're going to need a lot of initial investment money. Now, of course, you have to think of the fact that it's faster to spend money for inventory than it is to receive money for sales. So you have to be able to pace your spending so that as you're spending, you're not spending all of your inventory money too early, because you're going to need an ongoing supply of stuff. And if all of your money for your inventory is spent in the first month or two or when you first open the shop, then for the next months, people who come in, maybe they'll have bought stuff in the first month or the first 2 months, and then the next time they come in, there's nothing really new. What are they going to buy? You need to have a clear plan for an ongoing stream of inventory, which means you have to be careful about your initial investment money. Think about other services you can also provide for your local customers. Is there some sort of bulk grading submission that you can make arrangements with one of the grading companies? It's very possible to do that. A lot of people have done that, especially if you already have some experience, maybe with online shops or different things like that. If you're just coming in cold, never having done anything, it might be kind of hard to build those relationships and become a bulk submitter for one of the grading companies, but you can build to that. Or other services, think of what are some of the needs needs in the community? Is there an option for doing consignment, local consignments for people who want to sell their cards? You can do in-shop consignments or on an eBay store consignment for people who don't want to do that themselves. That's maybe there's a need for that in your local community. Just in general, think about other things you can provide, services you can provide for the local sports card community. That, maybe part of it is hosting shows. Maybe that's a service you can provide for your local community that sparks some interest. If you develop to a point where you can actually, or you want to be hiring someone else, there's a whole nother level to that as well. Now, you don't want to rush into that because, of course, that increases your cost by a significant amount once you have to be paying someone else. And then you have to also start thinking about the details of how the insurance system would work for that person, how it's going to affect your own business's taxes. You have to kind of calculate and figure all of those details out. Hiring a new person isn't the easiest thing. So there's extra levels of like consultations with lawyers and accountants and things to really make sure that your business is structured in a way that's going to be able to hire somebody if you get to that point. And again, you don't want to rush to that. So that means at the beginning, it's going to be just you, or I don't know if you have a partner or something, but if it's just you and you're physically going to be having to spend so many man hours there, you have to keep that in mind. That's not an easy situation necessarily. As well as just sports cards themselves and product, wax, sealed wax, think about other things, like supplies, penny sleeves. Where are you going to source your penny sleeves? Where are you going to source your top loaders? Where are you going to source some of these other little things that you might not think about at the beginning, and even other little memorabilia items that might, I don't know, keychains, or, is there other things that are related that you might want to have around your store that you can source to have there? Think of a business name. Think of a business logo. This is actually a really important part. This is like the cover of your book. If it has an attractive logo, an attractive name, it stands out in some way, it's going to draw people in. So think about that. Give that real consideration. If you don't have the skills to create a nice logo, look on Fiverr.com or something. Like, find a way to get a nice looking logo. Having things nice looking from the beginning is going to create a sense of professionalism. It's going to make people think that, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. You want people to think that you know what you're doing, even if you don't know what you're doing yet. Like, you'll figure it out. There's probably a lot that you wouldn't know what you're doing, but you have to really have a certain professionalism about things right from the get-go. As far as the money you invest in this, I wouldn't even consider this at all unless I had a certain amount of disposable income. I think starting a brick and mortar sports card shop it's hard. It's unlikely to succeed. It's more likely to not succeed than it is to succeed. So the money that you would be investing in something like this has to be something where if you lost it all, you wouldn't go homeless, that you could still manage. So I think you have to approach it with wisdom. And with that in mind, you have to keep in mind that almost no business you start is going to turn a profit right away. It's going to take a while. Usually when people start a new business, they expect at a very minimum for like 2 years before they actually have recouped their initial investment, and then start to make a profit after that at least. And sometimes it's longer than that. So you have to make sure that you have enough money to support yourself, your family, whatever your needs are outside of this business for at least the first couple of years. If you don't have that at the beginning and you don't have a way to get investors or to get a partner to work with you on this or something like that, then, again, I think you want to start with just doing the online stuff and building up a base until you're at a point where you feel it's safer, because you don't want to be throwing something into something as risky as a brick and mortar sports card shop. Another one is distribution. The thing that can make a good opportunity for people in the local community is if you actually have product. It can be hard to get distribution. A lot of people want distribution. You might not get it right from the beginning. So you have to have a plan and a strategy for how maybe at the beginning you're making less money on your sealed wax than you would like, but that over time you're trying to build relationships with the distributors so that you can get better prices. I don't know this process so well, but I do know that you have to have a certain level of, you have to be professional, you have to have a certain consistency, you have to be trusted. The distributors have to know that you're going to be able to sell product regularly and know that you become a reliable place for them. So you have to build those relationships, and you have to kind of build that over time. So it won't come right away. So that's all part of that first couple of years where you're not going to be turning a profit. You might not also be able to source inventory from GTS or whoever else is distributing hobby products. You might not be able to source that stuff for a while until you're well established. So you have to keep that in mind in your planning as well. This was just fun for me because I do have some experience starting up businesses. My wife and I started a restaurant for a period of time. We started our own English language school that we're currently still running. We've done some other small things. So so we do have some experience with starting up some businesses. And yeah, of course, you know, I love thinking about business planning, even if it's not going to be something that I do. It's just a hobby of mine, which if you've watched this channel, you kind of know I do this kind of reflection on things sometimes. But I hope this was useful. You know, I honestly don't think it's the best idea to start a brick and mortar shop. I think there's better ways to go about it. There's a lot of challenges when it comes to the physical space that you don't have if you're just focusing with online stuff. And in 99% of the circumstances, there's no real reason to go into the physical space like that. But there are contexts and there are times and there is a space for it still. And there's also some unknowns. You know, who knows what the future is going to hold with Fanatics and their approach with local sports card shops. It seems like the distribution systems are going to be changing. Supposedly that's supposed to be also to be supporting local card shops, but I don't know if that's going to be things that will support card shops that have a history already, or if it's going to be something that, you know, is also open opportunities for people who are trying to step into that space for the first time. It's hard to know. And in a space where there's so many unknowns, and in a space where the market has been continuing to go down, I don't necessarily think now would be a good time for most people to start a physical card shop. But at the same time, if you are, maybe this video is going to stay here on YouTube for years and years, and maybe at some point it is more logical. So I think it would be a lot of fun, and I can't think of a more fun business to run. But anyway, that's it for this video. I hope it was fun for you, maybe not useful, because I don't think many of you watching this video are going to go out and start your own brick and mortar sports card shop, but I think it's still a fun thing to explore. If you have any other thoughts, ideas, or anything you'd like to share with people, please let us know in the comments below. Otherwise, that's it for this video. Peace.